verses in the second chapter where Krishna started his teaching to Arjuna and to all of us. As I said at the beginning, what he spoke to one person becomes a message to millions and millions of people. There must be something universal in that message to that one person. Otherwise, we would have disappeared long ago. That's why today, all over the world, there is a keen desire to study the Gita because it contains the philosophy of life. How to live this life and achieve fulfillment in this very life, in this very body, if we can. Advance as far as we can. That kind of philosophy is there in this longest philosophical poem in the world. Gita is the longest philosophical poem. And so, we started from the 11th verse onwards. The whole subject, the first 22 verses, is dealing with the true nature of man, the nature of individuality. Whenever we say I, what do we mean by it? This datum of I is a tremendous datum in evolution. You won't find it anywhere in the cosmos. Only when man appears on the scene, this datum also appears. No living cell, nor the highest evolved pre-human species like the chimpanzee has this datum. Only in man this is there. And so man can take it not as a final datum, it is an initial datum. And question, what does this I mean? What is the root of this I? What is the extent of this I? That is philosophy. We call it Psalm here, in this language here, in the same chapter. What is the meaning of this I? When I say I, what do you mean? Most people never ask the question. But some do ask persistently until they get the answer. And the answer that the sages of India got is we are infinite, immortal. The self which is universal, not limited to this tiny little body. Though what we experience is only a tiny little self, but that is not its true dimension. That subject Krishna is responding in this beginning of this second chapter. In order to persuade Arjuna to face up to his problems in life, as we will see later on, based on this philosophy of the self, Krishna could not persuade Arjuna to pursue his duty. On the contrary, Arjuna got the impression that this teaching of the self made my position more strong. Let me realize myself as infinite, one with all. Right into all this message. That kind of attitude Arjuna develops. And so Krishna changes his position in philosophy in the middle of the chapter. From there you will find the original philosophy of the Gita, a philosophy of growth, a philosophy of struggle, and to work and struggle, you realize the same spiritual truth of the infinite nature of the Atman. Without any giving up of work and struggle, etc., etc. It is because of that Gita has become a universally appealing philosophy. Otherwise, only the first part of this second chapter was taught the Atman is this, Atman is that, and God is heaven, then only a few mystics, ascetics would have probably useful. For all others, it is not meaning at all. We know only this little ego secured in the body, dealing with other egos in society. Some improvement they can bring about in the physical ego and the soul. We don't know the deeper dimension of the human individuality. Krishna takes the very subject of the infinite Atman and gives you another philosophy of immense practical value. It is then you get real practical Vedanta. Krishna will refer to it as yoga, the science of yoga. That in this very life, in the midst of all the work that you do, in the midst of all your interhuman relations, we can grow spiritually and eventually realize this profound truth of the Atman. In this very body, in this very world, we will become again and again. That is the special significance of the second chapter. From 38, verse 38 onwards, you are listening to a new type of music from which you can give a response. When you hear it, you respond to it. It refers to you. It refers to everyone. In that teaching, you can see Krishna in new dimension. He goes to every worker, the housewife, the laborer, the farmer, the politician, everyone. Gently disperse. I will give you a philosophy by which you will do this work well, for the good of all, and by which you will grow spiritually also. That is a wonderful philosophy and will communicate to you. It disperses to everyone. That is what you are going to get from the middle of this second chapter. And here we have studied the first few verses, beginning from verse 11. That's where Krishna started. Ashochyamanimadojasvam Pratnyavalam Siddharthase. You are reading for those who do not deserve to be read over by you. They are great people. And you speak wise words. They who know the truth, they don't read for the living or the dead. They have sympathy, they have compassion, they are different. But reading is not considered to be a very positive, creative attitude. This kind of teaching is going on from that verse onwards. Then he comes to this subject. We finished last Sunday, verse 14. Mahaprana Svarshastra Bhauteya Shivitoshna Sukadukara Adamapayino Nitya Pran Dirikshasva Bhavata. It is a teaching for all of us. The measure of endurance is essential. What we call in medical language or psychological language, the threshold of pain must be always higher and higher, not lower. A little upset will fall down, that's not pain. A little strength must be there. A little endurance power must be there. That is what we saw in this verse 14, that whenever these sense organs come in touch with sense objects, sometimes it will bring you pleasure, sometimes it will bring you pain, sometimes heat, sometimes cold, etc. These dualities are bound to come. So, if you cannot overcome them by your intelligence, bear with them. Tam Chidikshas Svabhavata. There are some capacities for endurance. This is essential in everyday life. All the problems you cannot solve. Some problems will remain. We have to bear with them. So bear with them is an important verse. They say in English, bear and forbear. Two things are essential. And so Tam Dirikshas Svabhavata. Bear with them, Arjuna. Bear with them. Develop a strong mind and body which can stand these pressures, you can stand much more pressure than an ordinary person. Because you have trained your mind, you have philosophy behind you. Those who have philosophy behind them, they can always stand more pressure than those who live ad hoc lives. Those who have patriotism, love for the nation, they can bear many more difficulties than those who love only themselves. These are all simple truths. When you love others, you can bear more strain. When you love only yourself, you become very sensitive. Like my Mosa Puriya, the little plant. So Krishna says here, don't be my Mosa Puriya. Just when you blow air, it becomes half dead. For 5 minutes, again it comes to life. Therefore my Mosa Puriya, the most sensitive plant. Sam Dirishas Bhagavad. Having said this, the next verse also is very Yamvinam Yadiyam Kete Purusham Purusham Samadukka Sukham Dhiyam. So, he who is not afflicted by these realities experience, that person is a Dhira, is a hero, the most intelligent person, fit for achieving immortality. Now that Purusham Purusham Samadukka Sukham, whose mind is always even and calm in Sukha and Dukkha. Some instrument will be there, but it will not be too much. It will be beyond your control. You won't break down as a human being, we will have feeling of pleasure and pain. We are not able to achieve. Pleasure and pain will be there, but it won't be the you see. It won't make you deluded. That's the standard. Samadukka Sukham Dhiyam. Never compare a human being to a particular shape. There is no Sukha, there is no Dukkha. But a man must have Sukha and Dukkha. But you want it till it relieves you, makes you thoroughly weak. But experience will be there of Sukha and Dukkha. You can bear with them. You can bear with them. You have to show the bearing is very high. So, Gita, that's what the Gita. Samadukka Sukham Dhiyam. So, Namatatva, he is it for Namatatva, immortality. That is the verse 15. Today we take up verse 16. It's a very compressed verse. Lot of philosophy is compressed into it. And the words used also are very technical verse. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata, ubhayodati, ubhayodati, vishtota saniro sattadarshiti. Asat and sat. Two words are used. They have got different meanings in different contexts. In purely philosophical context, it is the real and the unreal. Sat means the real. Asat means the unreal. That is the philosophical meaning. But in Samkhya terminology, it has got another meaning. One is called the cause, the other is called the effect. The Sat is the effect. The Asat is the cause. Because Sat you can see, the effect you can see, the cause you cannot see. And cause and effect are non-different according to the Sankhyas. As the cause, so the effect. As much energy you put into your machine, that's what that machine can do, nothing more. That's called cause and effect being non-different. But in this context, the word Sat means the real. The word Asat means the unreal. So Shloka says, Na asato vidyate aho. The unreal never is. The word is cannot be applied to that particular thing called what is unreal. Na asato vidyate aho. Similarly, na abhavo vidyate sata. The word unreal cannot be applied to. The word non-existent cannot be applied to what is the real. The Sat is the real. It can never be the unreal. The Sat must always be existing, not non-existing. Our people, when they study the world, they found two aspects to this world. One is a changeable aspect, another an unchangeable aspect. Everything in this world is changeable. Every second it is changing. Prakrikshanam, anyatha svabhavo. The Upanishad Bhashya says, what is this world? Every moment it is becoming something else. Therefore, change is a characteristic of this world. And anything that changes moment to moment is called unreal. That's how we use the word unreal. It is, but it is unreal. It appears, but it is unreal. Because it is constantly changing. You look at him, they have already changed. So quickly things are changing. This is the one great conclusion of philosophers in India, China, as well as in Greece, ancient times. The constantly changing nature of this manifested universe. The universe which you see with your five senses, its important characteristic is it is constantly changing. Therefore we say, whatever is changing is unreal. That is our definition of what is real or unreal. Whatever changes is unreal. Then where is the reality? We all see this world only. Is there anything real? Yes, there is. Beyond the sensory level, you come to the world of reality, which is unchanging, infinite, eternal. This distinction was made very early in our philosophy. In Greek philosophy also, there are two schools. One, holding on to the eternal changeless reality. The other, holding on to the world as a world of change. That world of change is expressed in a beautiful illustration by Greek philosophers. You do not step into the same river twice. That is mean. The river is changing constantly. Not the same river that you step in. The world is like that. Constantly changing. This becomes more and more confirmed when you study modern physics and modern biology. Dealing with living systems, for example. Your body changes in a few years, everything in the body has changed. Yet you say, I feel I am the same person. Some sort of unity somewhere is there. This is world of change. Man alone can discover it. Animals changed, but I don't find that unity where they change. But man feels there is a unity where all the change is really centered. Just like all the changes of pictures in a film, making for the unity of the film. That's due to the curtain behind the film. That makes it unity. Similarly, we sought for the unity behind the multiplicity in the universe. The first root is change. Change, everything changing. And we say whatever changes is unreal. The thing is just now, next minute it's not there. Okay, we call it real. We have therefore defined the definition of what is real, even in the Mandukya Upanishad Karika by Gaurava. Adau ante kilannasti vartamane dattata vidadhai satasha santo aridata rakshita. This is about what is unreal. What changes? The Sloka says, God is that which does not exist in the beginning and in the end, only appears in the middle, that's all unreal. Though it appears to the real, it is essentially unreal. Adau ante triyanasti vartamayani yattata. Even the present state also is the same. It is really unreal. It was not, it did not be, it is not even now. It appears to the real. That's all. It has no reality. With the eyes, Sarasha Santo, Aridaka, even Dakshita. It is negatively Avidaka, means real. Vidaka is unreality, not change. Avidaka means reality, changelessness. So that is one of the definitions given in our philosophy. A thing that does not exist in the past and the future. The appears only in the present, is not here. Then what is real? That which exists in past, present and future, that is called the real. Always it is real. Is there such a real? Yes. And as such, it is such a philosophy everywhere in the world. Such of the one changes behind the many changing aspects of the universe. Even physical science is in search for that one reality behind this changing universe. In Vedanta, we have undertaken this task with such seriousness and earnestness, which has no comparison anywhere else, and beautiful international concepts and technologies have been evolved. They found this subject. Here the word Sat and Asat has been used. Masato Vidyate Kavo. Nakavo Vidyate Sat. If this spiritual world is unreal, then what is real? There is imperishable, infinite Atman, that we have said. That will sustain along. What is that real? It is constantly there. It cannot be destroyed. Which is imperishable. That is there in the universe. That is there in you and me. It pervades everything. That is the meaning of, in other words, immediately after. Upayoga Vishwamta. The Amrita of both of these has been realized by great sages. Those who know the truth of things, Tattva-darshina, those who realize the truth of things, they have discovered the truth. The Amrita, what is the word Amrita? Nirmaya, determination. This subject has been conclusively proved by Tattva-darshinis that the world of change is unreal. The changeless alone is real. That is the great truth they have discovered. So use the word Sat for that infinite reality, Asat for the changing universe, and so this world which you see with your five senses is really not true. It appears, that's all. It is there. You are handling it. But the truth about it is something else. You go deeper, then you will see the truth. That's why we don't say that this sensory world alone is true. That is called materialism. And materialism is a strong philosophy today. We had it earlier also. It is always to be there. But if you go deep enough, this materialism cannot stand. So scientists themselves are now trying to remove materialism from modern science. Even in the last century, Thomas Huxley, a very acute thinker, rational thinker, collaborator, Darwin, he termed materialism as an intruder into science. Science has nothing to do with materialism. Matter is a useful concept. Nobody has seen matter. But it is a useful concept like XYZ in solving algebraic problems. But those who forget that this is only a symbol and think it is the real thing, they are doing great injustice to human beings. They will destroy the beauty of human life. By matter developing into materialism, it is destructive of man's full life, happy life of fulfillment. That was the longing given by Thomas Huxley in the last century. In this century also, men like Millikan, astrophysicists, have said to me that the philosophy of materialism is the height of unintelligence. That's language issues. And many more are coming up in modern times. So, matter is just a symbol. We don't know anything. Nobody has seen matter. Something behind the recording X, as good as saying X, that's all. We study X, we will result we get there. So nobody has seen what matter is. Therefore, we are seeing, from the Indian point of view, one infinite reality. It appears as matter in the world outside, as a self in you. There's only one reality in this world, and we call it Brahman or Atman, of the nature of pure consciousness. It's not a material something. It's of the nature of pure consciousness. Matter itself is nothing but a condensation of consciousness itself. That's the language of the use, the language which many scientists are now appreciating that matter itself is only a condensation of consciousness visible to the sensory system of man. Part of the idea that you can have various levels of matter, gross matter, subtle matter, still more subtle matter. You can see in the human body. We have got out of pure what we call juices or what we call liquids going on in the body. You get a strong bone, very hard bone. You also get the eyeball, the very, what you call that saying, eyeball. You get also many subtle things also from the same material. In the tree, simple sap, you get a strong, hard wood to get out of it. In this way you find matter has so many levels. Very, very gross, subtle, still more subtle. That matter, we don't know what it is. And we call it that thing which we all know about, namely consciousness. Consciousness is known, it is experienced. And that consciousness which is infinite and universal, we call it Brahman. And the same universal Brahman, which is you and me, as your consciousness and my consciousness, as the Atman. And the world itself is a condensation of that same consciousness. Now this philosophy has developed ages ago, and today's development in science is in the direction of this philosophy, the development of the Upanishads. It is a profound statement, says Professor Kapra in his book on Power of Physics. He goes on Chandogya Upanishad, a very enigmatic passage. Prana Vai Brahma, where the text. Brahman is, Prana is Brahman. Prana is energy. Here it means psychic energy and biological energy. But it also includes all energy. So all energy is Brahman. Prana Vai Brahma. Then we may mistake it for this direct physical energies in the world. In the next line says, Come Brahma, the eye. Very enigmatic statement. You know, Ka and Ka, the two first consonants of Sanskrit are Ka. Brahman is Ka. Brahman is Ka. Then the students say, I cannot understand what is this Ka and Ka. I can understand Rama is Brahman. There is a creation and the teacher explains. Ka means the sky. In Sanskrit, the word Ka means space. Unlimited space is called Ka. There's a wonderful word in Sanskrit. So Brahman is infinite, expansive. That's right away. Then it may be like the physical cosmos that you heard in physics and cosmology today. Is it like that? No. That, the first word, Tam Brahma. Brahma in Sanskrit means happiness, bliss. That means consciousness is there. So that movement which is infinite and yet of the nature of pure consciousness, that is Brahman. And the whole universe of energy is that Brahman only. So it's such a proven. This physicist quotes this particular sentence today, Chandogya Upanishad, Prana Vai Brahma, From Brahma, this. And so, this idea of change, changelessness. And what is called change is nothing but a causation of the infinite changeless reality. Just like the water in the ocean. Just a causation is the wave, where there is no existence apart from the ocean. It just appears and disappears constantly. So also in today's physics, this language is used. There is only a wave of that infinite reality behind. The whole universe is just a very form. It's a wave of that infinite or your reality. Now these are all common terminologies, concepts, coming from modern physics and cosmology, which are played earlier in the Vedanta, in the Upanishads. So, this is here, yes. Ubhayor Vishnotra Samayo Sattva. This Anga, this conclusion, Nirnaya, happened like that. By whom? Tattva. Those who have seen the Tattva Tattvam also is a very great scientifically precise word in Sanskrit. What exactly is the nature of the thing, that's called Tattvam. Not what appears to you. Just like there is that. It is not Tattvam. It is Madam. It is our opinion. Our senses tell us that there is that. But what is the Tattvam? That is wrong. That is a flaw. That's called Tattvam. Those who know the Tattvam of things, by scientific investigation, they have come to this conclusion that this Sat, reality, is always is, and what is Asat, what doesn't exist, has no reality. This is the reality. Whatever reality the Asat possesses comes from the Sat itself. Without it, there is no reality for it. So, this is what sages have discriminated and investigated the subject, come to the conclusion. How things will be, you will find in modern physics. We have the language of Einstein. In today's physics, and putting words, there are two realities. One matter, the other the field. Both cannot be true. For the field alone is true. Matter is only a condensation of the field. That is the language. Same language becomes the use. Physicists are completely used to it because they were in such a truth, not an opinion. They have tremendous rational attitudes. We came to these conclusions ages ago. Today we do it through science, through experiment. We come to the same conclusions. Therefore, the Tattva is here. Tattva Dashini. Those who know the truth of things, not what appears, not what is pleasing. They are all dogmas, beliefs and dogmas. You can have plenty of them. But Tattva is different. It's a great word. I wish our people try to understand the meaning of this word and apply it in day-to-day life. What is the Tattva of it? Suppose I have an opinion. I can go down to an opinion. But it must be based on truth. It must be a true opinion. Then only it comes to Tattva. Otherwise it is called Matam. The word opinion in Sanskrit, in English, is called Matam in Sanskrit. That's my Matam. So that's Matam. It's my opinion. It's not the truth. I have not investigated it. But when you investigate and found it to be true, then that opinion becomes a true opinion. It can stand challenge. So, ordinarily, our religions in the world is always a multiple. It's a plural. Religion is always plural. They are all models. What pleases me, what attracts me, what is relevant to my needs, that's all model. I used to be a Vaishnava, a Shaiva, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, yes, it's all model. That's all one aspect of it. Then the second aspect, when you are scientifically investigate, what is all this model? What is behind this plurality of models? Is there a truth behind all this? That discovery will give you the Tattva of religion. When Tattva is discovered, no conflict comes in religion. We know these are different forms of the same single reality. There is no conflict thereafter, harmony and peace alone can come, and respect for each other. Your opinion, I respect. You respect also my opinion. You take some food, I respect it. I take some food, you respect that also. Don't say my food alone is what, your food is what. That's what we have written in the name of religion. Mistaking it to be Tattva. Tattva is quite different. Any food you may take, that's one. But see that you take so many calories needed for health, that's Tattva. The Tattva of food is the calories, the nourishing part of the food. That you keep intact. Whatever food you may take. So you can see in religion as well as in food the distinction between Madam and Tattva. Only when you investigate, you will come to this truth. So Tattva Dashini. In our country today, more people begin to ask this question. Why so many religions? What is the truth about all of them? Every religion says, I am true, yes, you are true. But you can't take it, what is called copyright of our truth. Others also say they are true. When such questions come, very impartial, objective investigation. That's what the sages did. And wrote very never to the level of tattva. And tattva is one. Tattva can never be plural. Mara can be plural. So one tattva, different expressions of the tattva, various manifestations of the tattva. That is how our sages discovered this wonderful unity behind the diversity of religion, established harmony and peace, and so little of ignorance in the name of religion on the soil of India. We find the expression in the Srimad Bhagavad, the wonderful verse, Vadantika Tattvavida Tattvavya Jnana Advaya Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavanti Shakyati. The word Tattva translated says Vadantika Tattvavida. The knowers of truth, Tattva. They say this. What do they say? Tattvam Jnana Advaya. There is one Tattva which is pure, non-dual consciousness, which we call Brahman in Upanishad, of the nature of pure, non-dual consciousness. That is the Tattva. But the Tattva is spoken of differently in language and style by different people. What are these? Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavanti, Shakyati. Shabda, or sound, or speech, make that one appear as many. Some call it Brahman, some call it Ishvara, the divine, the other, or Paramatma, the supreme self-divine, mind ego, so they call mystics, call it so. So they call it Devito, as the names only. So in this way, this investigation of modern versus Tattva has done immense good to this country. In no other country has been affected even, not even once. It has never been affected except as what we call politically convenient arrangements we have made. That's all. Not from the point of view of investigation of truth or a scientific investigation. That was done of 3 years. And today we have to inaugurate that kind of an investigation. To find the harmony behind these diverse manifestations, as in the case of philosophy, so also in the case of religion. He finds himself matter and appeal. But these alone is true. They cannot be true. If you want matter, it is treated as a condensation of that field. But field alone is true. So that brings infinite nature of consciousness is the truth. Without change, never the same. That is sung in the next few verses. Prayova Krishnoga Saryoga Tattvadarshi. Tattvadarshi is known the truth. That which is changeless alone is real. That which changes cannot be real. It has an appearance only. It has disappeared. Even though you question it, it has disappeared. That's the nature of the world of appearance. And so, in the next verse, 17, the Gita says, Avinashi Prakriti, Yena Sarvamidam Taram. This infinite truth, this infinite reality of the nature of non-dual pure consciousness that pervades the whole universe. And it is Avinashi. Without any destruction, no vinasha. Avinashi Prakriti, Yena Sarvamidam Taram. That reality which pervades the whole universe. No, that to be Avinashi. Things can come and go. Can be created or destroyed. But that out of which all this comes, that cannot be destroyed at all. Vinasham appears to be asya. Not asya kartum arvati. None has power to destroy that indestructible reality behind the universe. You can destroy items here and there, but not the reality behind which, from which the whole universe has come. That's called Avinashi, Prakriti. And that is also in you, within this body, and the cell, the Atman. It's also the same reality. What is there is also here. but only in the human body we can become aware of it. Which is there in the animal body, but the body is not able to understand this truth. But in the human body, this truth can be recognized and realized as well. So, Antaranta Dine Deva, Nitya Sivokta Sharirina, Anashino Apanayasya, Tasma Vidyasya Bhavata, Krishna Ishari Arjuna. Therefore, Paigana, Vidyasya. Why? Because this truth, these bodies of so many bodies are here of one imperishable Atma. These bodies are Antaramkara. They have a beginning and an end. Antaramkara means end and death. Bodies die. We can never keep them all the time. Antaramkara Ine Deha. All these bodies are Antaramkaras. They have an end. Nitya Sivokta Sharina. Whose bodies are they? Of that Shariri. The one that is in body, who is Nitya, eternal. Of eternal itself, these are perishable bodies. Know this truth. Anashino, Apanayasya. That Atman, that is here in all these bodies, it is Anashi, without any destruction. Apanaya, which cannot be measured. Which cannot be brought within the purview of speech and thought. That's called Apanaya. Everything in the world can be brought within the world within the area of speech and thought. Not the Atman, because eternity is not it. It is the nature of your consciousness. So the word Pranaya and Apanaya are often used regarding God as well as the infinite nature of man. Anashino Apanayasya. Pramana Pranaya. Knowledge is referred to know, to measure, to demarcate, to define, to classify, all is called Pranaya. But the Atman cannot come under any of these activities. It is not Pranaya, is it? Anashina Pranayasya. Tasmat Vidyasya Bhavata. Therefore, fight on. Don't fear. Don't quit before this child, before you. Is it? Jayam Vedi Hamsaram Jashiram Manjaleharam Bhavaramapadi Bhavaram Yaniso Nayam Handi Nahanjale. This verse 19 has attracted the attention of emotion. The verse says, he who takes the self to be the slayer and who takes it to be the slain, neither of these know the truth. That the self does not slay, nor is it slain. That's the nature of the self. This is imagine put into a versified form. In his essays, if the killer thinks he kills, if the kill thinks he is killed, neither of them know the truth. That's how he puts it in his essays. And he often touches the Gita. He became completely changed. A new dimension of thought came to him, clearly. He just says, very good look. Once he came in touch with the Gita, which he got from Bhagavad, and he was visiting it to the Bhagavad. By reading, he presented it with another book, which was translated earlier by India from them. That changed from the Emerson, Pablo, Whitman, all of it. It's a wonderful book that influenced, we call the New Transcendentalists of America, the last century. So, Narayan Hanti, Nahanjale. The Atman isn't killed, nor is it completed. But it is finished. That's the true nature of the self. Our true nature is that. We should not forget this, we say. Then, the next level expands it further. Najarayate, Mriteva, Radhajit, Nayan Bhutala Bhaitrava, Natraya, Ayodhya Shasutavayam Puram, Nayate, Anyamani, Shahiri. These are taken from the Raha Upanishad, almost organic. Najarayate, the Atman has no birth. It's not born. Naturally, Najarayate, it has no death. If there is no birth, there is no death also. Radhajit, error. Naya not that having been, he doesn't cease to be, or having not been, he continues to be, because he is being again. This Atma has no such position at all. Ajo, it is unborn. You needs to be born. That is the word J comes in English language. So Ajo, without birth. Nitya, eternal. Shashara, again eternal in another sense. Purano, very ancient and always fresh. That's the meaning of Purana. Purana means very old. That means they repeat and old. But it means Purana, Navadevati, Purana, ancient and yet ever fresh. As Dr. C said about India, India is ever aging but not old. Always aging but not decaying and old. Always fresh. In this modern period you can see the youthfulness has come. So India has got a quality which we find in the Atman. It is always Purana, always fresh. Purana, Navadevati, Nava means new. No old, it is fresh, it is new, it is young. That's nature of Purana. Sahanyate, Anyamane, Shariri. The body is destroyed, the Atman is not touched. Absolutely untouched means the Atman. Nobody can destroy the Atman, the true self of man. That is the truth which is being emphasized in the Upanishads as well as in the Gita, again and again. The immortal nature of man. Man is a child that is immortal, not a child of weakness, of delusion, of sin. He is a child that is immortal. Amarasya, that is our true nature. Even a bit of this awareness can give us tremendous strength, tremendous fearlessness, and tremendous compassion. The same Atman is in every being that makes us friendly to all, brings us the spirit of service. This knowledge is behind all ethical sense, a sense of oneness. Ethics always involves a sense of oneness between people and people. Then only ethical sense can operate. So behind this ethical sense is the truth of unity. We are essentially one. That's the idea. By injuring anyone, you injure yourself. You are the only Atman, same Atman in all beings,